Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another episode of CPPR Dialogue on Safeguarding the Coast, Coastal Security in India's National Security Strategy. I'm Alina Desapo, Research Associate in the International Relations vertical of CPPR and the host for today's webinar. This webinar is the fifth one in our webinar series as part of our project titled the Indian Coastal Think Tank Network, supported by the Asia Foundation, New Delhi. The Indian Coastal Think Tank Network, or ICTN as we call it, aims to create a network of coastal think tanks focused on policy-driven analysis of issues in India's coastal region from local, regional, and national perspectives. We have 9 different experts joining us in this network from different think tanks and institutions across coastal states in India, focusing on the following themes: climate change and gender, coastal security, blue economy, fisheries, coastal ecology, tourism, maritime domain awareness, ports and shipping, disaster management, coastal energy, and coastal heritage. For today's webinar, our area of discussion is coastal security, an important topic under the framework of national security that India has been prioritizing over the couple of years. Today, coastal security isn't just about preventing infiltration and attacks. Non-traditional threats like climate change, illegal immigration, and maritime pollution demands an integrated approach that blends security with environmental management. With the rise of AI, digitalization, drones, and satellite-based GIS mapping, India is modernizing its coastal security defense to ensure real-time monitoring and rapid response capabilities. As we analyze India's vast and complex coastline, we must recognize that a one-size-fits-all approach simply won't work. The western coast, facing the Arabian Sea, grapples with higher risks from terrorism, piracy, drug trafficking, and illegal fishing, while the eastern coast remains vulnerable to natural disasters and strategic threats posed by China. To counter these region-specific threats, India needs a tailored security strategy, one that strengthens surveillance, enhances rapid response mechanisms, and actively involves coastal communities. Moving forward, interagency coordination, AI-driven port security, and establishment of a unified coastal command will be essential in fortifying our maritime frontiers. At the same time, we must strike a balance between security and sustainability by integrating blue economy into our coastal policies. So how do we achieve the delicate balance? Let's explore this in today's discussion with our esteemed panelist of experts. And before we begin the conversation, I would like to introduce our panelists for today. KV Thomas. So KV Thomas has over 36 years of distinguished service in the Intelligence Bureau, Ministry of Home Affairs, Government of India. He has worked in various capacities in different parts of India, including insurgency-affected areas of Northeast, Gujarat, Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Andhra Pradesh, and Kerala, and is well-versed in the socio-economic, political, and developmental issues in these states. He has vast experience in the fields of intelligence, national security, policing, human rights, civil rights, ethnic conflicts, and left-wing extremism. As a fellow of the National Police Academy, Hyderabad, he has undertaken research on project on policing and human rights in Andhra Pradesh during 1998. I welcome you to this webinar.
Thank you.
And to join on the conversation, we have Dr. Praveen Mathur, who's an assistant professor at the Department of Geopolitics and International Relations, MAHE, Manipal. He earned his postgraduate degree in International Relations from the School of International Relations and Politics, Mahatma Gandhi University, Kottayam, Kerala, and completed MPhil and PhD from the Latin American Division of Center for Canadian Studies, US and Latin American Studies, School of International Studies, Jawaharlal Nehru University, New Delhi. At the Department of Geopolitics and International Relations, MAHE, he teaches courses on arms control, nuclear disarmament and nuclear futures, India and maritime security in the Indian Ocean, research methodology, Indian politics and government, globalization, geopolitics, and the world order. Before joining MAHE, he worked as an academic associate at the Academic Staff College JNU, research associate at the Indian Council of Social Science Research, and as a copy editor at the Encyclopedia Britannica Online, New Delhi. Welcome, sir. And to moderate the session, we have Ms. Adya Gomina, consultant from the Asia Foundation, who's also a PhD candidate in sociology at the Delhi School of Economics, University of Delhi. With diverse and extensive background in policy research, governance, journalism, she has worked as a fellow at the Delhi Assembly Research Center, contributing to key government initiatives, and also has experience as a journalist at the Bloomberg TV, India, where she covered the Finance Ministry, Planning Commission, and the Health Ministry. Her research interests include developmental, maritime trade in the Indo-Pacific region, urban policy, labor studies, and social justice. Having collaborated with leading academic and policy institutes like the London School of Economics, Center for Equity Studies, and the Rosa Luxemburg System, amongst others, Athiya brings sharp analytical perspective as today's moderator. Before we begin, I would like to remind our viewers that you can put your questions in the YouTube comment box, which we'll be taking up towards the end of the session. Over to you, Adya.
Thank you, Lena, for a very gracious introduction, inviting me as a moderator for today's webinar. And I'd also like the opportunity to extend my very warm welcome to our esteemed panel of speakers today, Mr. K.V. Thomas and Dr. Ravindranathan, to discuss the very pivotal and topical issue regarding the importance of coastal security in India's security strategy, which is a crucial aspect of the country's defense framework, given India's, as we know, very vast coastline spanning almost 7,500 kilometers and its strategic maritime interests. Therefore, to commence today's discussion, I'd like to set the context by understanding the evolution of India's coastal security. And as we know, coastal security became a very critical pillar of India's national security, especially in the aftermath of the 2008 Mumbai terrorist attacks. Therefore, my first question is posed to you, Mr. K.V. Thomas, sir. Could you please shed light on how coastal security evolved as a very core component in India's national security strategy, and what might be some of the key measures which have been implemented to mitigate future maritime breaches? Over to you, sir.
Oh, thank you, ma'am, for your question. So, as rightly pointed out, coastal security in the case of countries like India, which has a vast coastal line, is an integral part of national security. About some decades back, India's famous diplomat historian, Sardar K.M. Panikkar, has rightly commented, despite countless invasion of India from the northwest borders, India has never lost its independence till India lost its command over the seas. When during the first decade of the 16th century, the European forces stepped in through the sea routes. And it may be pointed out that this colonialism has ended. Similarly, the threat emanating from conventional wars has also considerably come down. But there are new forms of wars or non-conventional wars, just like low-intensity conflicts, cross-border terrorism, or Fidayeen attacks by non-state actors. Perhaps the best example as how such non-conventional conflicts or wars affect the territorial integrity and sovereignty of a nation. The best examples are the 1993 Mumbai blast and the 26/11/2008 the terror attack in Mumbai. So if we analyze both these incidents, we can clearly find they are an assault to the nation, the sovereignty and integrity of the nation, to break the economic status of the nation. So how these things happened? For example, in the case of 1993 Mumbai blast, anti-social elements with the backing of the Bombay underworld or these drug or smuggling syndicates operating from various parts of the country and abroad helped to land massive explosives RDX AK-47 in the Raigarh area of Maharashtra coast and Goshabar about 10 kilometers away from the Gujarat Porbandar coast. And these arms and explosives were transported to Mumbai and they resorted to reckless activities of a serious blast. And for that purpose, the coastline has been used. Raigarh in Maharashtra and the Gujarat Goshabar near Porbandar in Gujarat coast were used. And the vessels they have used is Al Bahasadar and Bismillah and Marwan. So we can find how the coastal line was used for entering into the Indian territory and resorted to a series of bomb blasts. Then came the 26/11. We need not explain. It was also one of similar operations conducted by about 1 dozen of the LTTE cadets trained in Pakistan and elsewhere on sea warfare and Fidayeen attack, and by using an Al-House, a vessel from Karachi, they came to the Indian waters, intercepted a fishing trawler, Kubar, this time also exactly near the Gosabara coast, that is near Porbandar, killed mercilessly killed the crew of the Uber fishing vessel. Then, with the help of the rubber rings, they landed in the Mumbai coast. Then they resorted to the reckless killing and violence, resulting about the killing of 160 persons and 600 injured, and massive destructions to the economy and infrastructure of Mumbai. So going back to these two major attacks, that was against the territorial integrity and advancing the national security of the country, we can say for certain how vulnerable was our coastal line. And within 15 days of the attack of the 26/11 attack, the government has come out with a number of recommendations to streamline and strengthen our counter-terrorism apparatus with a particular reference to the coastal security. There are a number of measures, and for the first time, the government has decided for the formation of an agency, National Investigation Agency, a federal agency, to look into the intricacies of the terror network. Then another major decision taken at the government level or the recommendations for the National Counter-Terrorism Center to have better interaction and synergy with the state and the center to fighting against the counter-terrorism and the hazards that we are facing at the national security front. Then there was another major move from the part of the government, that was a recommendation in the form of a national grid for the pooling of the intelligence of the various agencies quickly, analyze it properly, and disseminate or share it to the stakeholders so that timely action could be taken. Another measure taken by the government was these NST deployments were deployed in more and more areas for quick response and action. Similarly, decision was taken to strengthen the MAC, that is Multi-Agency Center, which was formed in the aftermath of the 1991 Kargil intrusion and based on the recommendations of the group of ministers and the Kargil report. So that was another major decision to have. Then another suggestion or recommendation made at that time was the formation of a coastal military command, but that was not materialized in due time. So a number of steps were taken at the highest level, and step by step, these decisions were implemented. Coastal to strengthen the coastal security, so many measures were taken and suggested. In this regard, I want to highlight one important factor, that is R.D. Pradhan Commission recommendations, that is known as High-Level Enquiry Committee on the 26/11 attack on Mumbai on the basis of the appointment of the Maharashtra government. This commission has made a number of recommendations, worthwhile recommendations, went into the lapses and loopholes, how it resulted in the 26/11 attack. Some of the important highlights of this committee, that is High-Level Enquiry Committee of R.D. Pradhan, was that there was lack of synergy or coordination among the various agencies. That was one pertinent point. Point number one was there was flaws in respect of the collection, analysis, and sharing of intelligence between the center and the state or the consumers. That was another major drawback pointed out this. In this regard, R.D. Pradhan Committee has highlighted that after 1993, that is the Mumbai blast, steps were taken to streamline the coastal security mechanism or the architecture. One major decision taken at that time was this formation of a 3-layer surveillance network, especially in the coast of Maharashtra and Gujarat, which was captioned as Operation Swan. That was an operation, extensive surveillance or methodological and systematic surveillance of the coastal belt of Maharashtra and Gujarat with the Navy and Coast Guard and the Coastal Police. It worked for some time, but unfortunately, the tempo was lost in top threat. It is not my observation. The observation by R.D. Pradhan Committee was that the joint patrolling started in 1993. Mumbai blast, a 3-layer mechanism has slowly diminished. As a result of that, there was inadequate and effective patrolling in the coastal belt, which also resulted to the causing of the 26/11 attack. Similarly, another point pointed out by is that the intelligence processing mechanism at the state level, there were some major flaws. For example, the committee pointed out that from 2006, there were so many intelligence alerts from various agencies and particularly for the center. But that alerts were not properly analyzed or assessed, or right perceptions could not be reached. As a result of that, countermeasures could not be effectively worked out. Another point was of this inefficiency or the lack of, not inefficiency, but the lack of logistic and resources for the Maharashtra police to deal with a Fidayeen attack as happened in the 26/11. In this regard, the committee also pointed out that the police modernization program, which was started by the government with so much funds and resources, was not adequately used, or there was delay in the proper execution of this modernization police program in the Maharashtra as also in other states. So, on the basis of these findings, the committee has made a number of fruitful recommendations, which in subsequent years was come in strengthening the coastal security. For example, one of the major recommendations, though this coastal command was not formed, a naval force, a refined force, this is a Sagar Paharibal was formed with an initial strength of 2,000. Then, so other step was that a technological upgradation of the surveillance mechanism or the network of surveillance for Coast Guard, which we will discuss separately in due course. So all these measures has considerably helped to strengthen the coastal security architecture in our area. Along with that, another important decision subsequently followed by by the government and the agencies was to strengthen or to improve the relations between the community. That is to win over the hearts and minds of the community in the coastal belt. For that, a very ambitious program was launched. That is what is called Sagar Kavach. The Sagar Kavach was the community interaction program. This community interaction program in the various agencies will associate, have close interactions with the community or the local population or the civilian population or particularly the fishermen, and to build up excellent rapport with them. And in subsequently, they can also be used as informers to collect information from the vulnerable coastal line of especially the Gujarat and Maharashtra or other vulnerable coastline area. This has also worked successfully, but that long time to win over the coastal population, particularly the fishermen on a long-time basis, there were some lapses which was subsequently reflected. Another decision was to integration in the approach of the Navy and the Coast Guard. As I earlier pointed out that there was lack of synergy or coordination among the agencies. In order to overcome that major bottleneck or the lapse, the government has formulated the JOCs, that is Joint Operation Centers. The Joint Operation Centers commanded by the Navy and associated with the various agencies will properly analyze the intelligence received from various sources, and that will be worked out at the ground level. That was an important decision taken after the 26/11 and based on the recommendations of the Pradhan Committee. We will look into other aspects in the subsequent section of this talk.
Thank you, sir, for that very lucid and thorough analysis and historical primer of the evolution of coastal security in India, and thereby also highlighting the various synergies and also the gaps which are very much present till now. That brings me to perfect segue into the next section, which will deal with differentiated security frameworks. Now, while these national level improvements are crucial, as we know, India's vast coastline presents region-specific challenges. So my question to you, Dr. Ravindranathan, is that as we know that India's western and eastern coastlines face distinct geopolitical, environmental, and security challenges, how should India then tailor its coastal security strategies to address these regional variations effectively?
Am I audible?
Yes, please go ahead.
Thank you for inviting me for this session. The question is on the eastern and the western side of Indian Ocean. Different types. Western side, we can see a lot of piracy, which is one major challenge appears from different countries like East African countries, Somalia and all, and which is extending their reach to Lakshadweep. There are reports saying that the presence of pirates are there in have seen in the Lakshadweep region. Well, then other areas are there. A lot of things has to be protected by state in the coastal region, especially the offshore platforms and lot of one second, yeah. A lot of mechanism has to be brought in to address. One is piracy, then insurgency operations sometimes, but not much relevant now, and drug trafficking, because India is located in between of two major drug trafficking regions, especially the Golden Crescent and Golden Triangle, which is uh, and drugs are the changing nature of drugs are very important to understand now, because it is no more about the natural the products like cannabis or hashish or something. It is much more than that, and that is a major trouble appearing through the coastal region, especially the ports are vulnerable. Another area is uh, the depletion of fishing resources, fish and other resources from the sea. The climate change is one aspect which is affecting that badly, and we can see uh, the limitation in the production of what do you call the fisheries. So unregulated fishing activities are happening, and whether the countries are capable to handle it by their own. India, somehow we can say that India is in a good position compared to the other littoral countries of Indian Ocean. So Coast Guard is there, and other organs are there, state organs are there to counter such things. But still, there are poaching of resources happening, and uh, uh, another area is uh, climate change activities. Climate change is definitely those who are knowing the nature of Arabian Sea region. Uh, the cyclones are very less, or we haven't heard about cyclone for many years compared to the eastern side of India, which is maybe 5 or 6 years ago. That is Oki, maybe the first one which created massive troubles. And after that, we can see a series of cyclones or turbulences coming from the sea to land, and which affects the coastal life. Uh, Another aspect is the protection of the land, coastal land, which has to be done along with the state government state governments, police forces or coastal polices. So there should be a kind of synergy has to be there, which is efforts were there. Definitely, there are a lot of committees and suggestions and all comes, but in effect, the states are not that much enthusiastic to cooperate with the center. In the eastern region, there are different types of threats are there. One is again we can bring the climate change and environmental changes happening, which is one incident which I have come across is the place called Naukali, where the where Mahatma Gandhi did his last satyagraha. Those regions are submerged already, some of the parts of this region, because the sea level is rising, and the coastal regions will be submerged. So this type of events has to be addressed by not just by the central government, which has to be addressed by the local government, that is state government, and also the local governance apparatus, that is maybe municipalities or the panchayats and all has to involved in it, because the sea rise is the climate change is a fact. It is not a what do you call? It is not something is yet to happen. It is already happening. The rise of water level is going up, and that will definitely affect if 1 meter of water level changes, huge area of land will be submerged, and that will be because the coastal regions are most populated areas. Not only population, their livelihood will be affected, and industries also. Many of the industries who are connected with the trade is located in the vicinity of 100 kilometers from the coastal line. So all these installations will be affected badly, and this we can see in the eastern region very much, and the porous borders. Uh, that is very what do you call? Uh, Very open, and it's not easy to protect. and how much forces you can develop. So now we are in a position to bring technology in the position in the as a good tool to protect the region, which is the sensors and radars and other systems are there. And also there are problems in the geopolitical region. If you take it, you can see problems from the countries like extra-regional powers emerging, their influences in the region, especially China's intrusion into Indian Ocean, and their dependency, high-level dependency, and also their investment patterns, which is a new challenge appearing. And the presence of such countries are the Coast Guard and Indian Navy has to be very much very, very seriously have to look into it. And the another area is where you have said is environmental. I said then another one is the exploitation of seabed mineral in this region. Those things has to be formulated because it is UNCLOS has already done some of the aspects, but the state has to reform it and make an approach. Synergy has to bring to the exploitation of resources. And what's the next one? Climate change, rising sea levels, I have already covered. Yeah, it is not, it cannot be done by one particular organ of the government. Central government can prepare, but it needs the support of state governments to address these issues. I will stop here and I will take questions more.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for those insights. Now, coming to Mr. KV Thomas, sir, let's move on to the more non-traditional security threats. Beyond conventional security threats, India's coastal regions face several of these non-traditional kinds, such as smuggling, human trafficking, and illegal fishing. So, how do these non-traditional security threats challenge India's coastal security, sir?
Thank you. Just like the traditional or the conventional security threats, the newly emerging, the non-traditional security threats have posed a serious challenge to the coastal security or in turn to the national security of our country. As already indicated, India, which is sandwiched in between the Golden Crescent and Golden Triangle, has become a heaven of major international drug peddlers and syndicates. Yesterday also, for your information, the Indian Navy has apprehended or intercepted a boat containing about 2,500 kilograms of hashish and other highly dangerous drugs and psychotropic substances from off Mumbai coast of Indian Ocean. So, how much damage the drug cartels are causing to this national security through their continuous bringing or landing of explosives through the coastal belt is a serious matter of concern for our national security. Not only it is affecting our economy, but the damage it has been causing to the younger generation, the bright brains, their brains are damaged. They should otherwise should have formed the backbone of Indian economy and Indian technology is perishing like night flies. It is affecting in the almost all the states and in almost all the regions of India. That is one part. Another part is that how this drug money is funneled or translated or to terror groups. That is the the implications in the transference of this drug money to the terror groups. For example, Jennifer S. Hesterman in 2013, Hesterman in 2013 has undertaken a very detailed study. The Terror that Criminal Nexus, the book was published in 2013. And in the book, she has undertaken a very detailed study and study also covering almost all the continents, also touches upon India. And it was indicated that in 1993 and 2611 Mumbai terror attacks, the DING has partially financed these groups in undertaking their operations in Mumbai. Similarly, we all know that when LTT was very active in the Sri Lankan part, one of the main channels for their finances was the drug trafficking through Malabar Coast. So almost all the terror organizations in one way or other is having some sort of nexus with these drug syndicates or underworld gangs in order to amass money for their clandestine operations. So this is a major threat that we have to face while looking upon the ways and means to strengthen the national security. Unless and until the financial pipelines of the terror groups are effectively cut down or stopped, the fight against terrorism cannot meet with the complete success. Similarly, smuggling syndicates are operating, and another major non-traditional threat in the Indian Ocean area is the operations of the transnational organized crime syndicates, because they are involved in a lot of activities such as human trafficking, illegal manpower transportation, then this poaching of rare flora and fauna, especially for Sundarbans and some parts of the Gujarat coast. These are their organized activities that are taking place in these things. So along with this thing, another major non-traditional threat is the landing of explosives and gun running. For example, you may all know how the coastal lines are used for the smuggling in of explosives and arms. For example, it is not pertaining to India alone. Our neighbors also, the famous or the notorious 2004 Chittagong armhole case is one of the leading example in this case. About 10 truckloads of sophisticated arms were landed at Chittagong port in Bangladesh, which was meant for the major Indian insurgent groups, particularly of the Northeast region. And during the interrogations of the persons associated with the Chittagong arms haul of 2004, very sensational disclosures have come that they have planned to sell off or to sell these weapons to the entire northeastern insurgent groups, particularly the United Liberation Front of Assam, whose supreme leader Paresh Barua was operating from Coast Bazar and Chittagong areas of the Bangladesh for decades. So that was an important challenge to the national security or the internal security of the country. And we all know how the entire northeastern states was in turmoil. With the supply or the steady flow of some weapons through such channels, it might have caused much considerable concern for the internal security situation in that region. So that was another major challenge from the non-traditional areas is there. Then illegal fishing, that is illegal, unreported and unregulated fishing, as the panelist has already spoken this one, how much damage it is causing, because our fishing resources were replenishing day by day because of this extensive, this is illegal, unregulated and unreported fishing. So it's a major challenge. Joint action should be taken by various agencies and neighboring countries in order to checkmate such illegal activities in the Indian waters, or that is another important area. So then there are other areas also, for example, illegal migration and human trafficking. Coast Guard and Navy is playing a very key role to check such activities through the sea waters. In spite of such activities also, things are happening. For example, in 2019, in Kerala coast, there is a Munambam coast. Then organized illegal manpower agents managed to send about 230 persons by purchasing a mechanized fishing boat called Devamada. And nobody knows, and no agency is certain to know what happened to 230 unfortunate souls who have come from various parts of India, and they boarded the vessels from Munambam of Kerala coast and disappeared in the high seas. Two versions, either Coast Guard, Navy, or intelligence agencies could not specifically pinpoint what happened to that 230 persons. There are two versions still there. According to one version, the Devamada vessel, which was used for carrying them to across the ocean waters, perished in the ocean waters, and all the 330 persons had also perished in the fire. Another version is that on the outer seas, they should have managed some high-powered, engine-powered vessels, and they illegally migrated to some Christmas Island or some areas of Australia or New Zealand. What I want to convey is that, in spite of the best efforts by Navy and all the agencies, that is security, police, and other agencies, such things are happening still through the Kerala or our India's coastline. So these are some of the major challenges from non-traditional angle. Along with that, another some developments have also. For example, disputes because India and Pakistan, for example, in the Sen Creek dispute is there. It is a 96 square kilometer estuary in the Ran of Kutch, and by that Pakistan is making their demand, and India is also having their demand on this Ran of Kutch in this Sen Creeks. But it is not yet finally solved. So occasional disputes take place, and the victims there are the local population or the fishermen in this case. Similarly, in Sri Lanka and India, there is a pact street. This January also, some 4 or 5 fishermen were shot, Indian fishermen were shot while they went for fishing in the pact street. It's a disputed area. Similar thing is happening in the Sundarbans area because of the Bangladesh and India having differences on the demarcation of this Sundarban area, Sundarban Delta between India and Bangladesh. Now it has taken a serious turn because a couple of weeks back for a week back, because in view of the relations between the strained relations between the India and Bangladesh, some new developments have taken place. For example, Muhammad Yunus, the premier of the Bangladesh, who has recently been on a visit to China, has indicated that Bangladesh has the absolute power, have the power to control the Bay of Bengal. So once they actively control the Bay of Bengal, the entire northeastern states will be cut off. For example, Siliguri corridor is the only way. That is the only way is connecting with the northeast with the mainland India. This Siliguri corridor is sandwiched between the 3 countries. That is Bangladesh, Nepal, and Bhutan. So all the 3 countries will form a committee of understanding, and they will try to sabotage the interests of the India. Definitely, it will be a serious problem. Along with that, another thing, because of Bangladesh is developing this issue, by the time China is also funneling its resources and economy in the Chittagong Hill Tract. Chittagong and Tripura is very near. It is very near from Tripura. Tripura border is less than some 70 kilometers the Chittagong port. So some attempts are being made by China to strengthen their bases in the Chittagong, which is one of the major ports in the Bangladesh. Once such attempts will succeed, definitely it will be a serious problem, not only from economic point of view, but also from strategic angle, it will be a serious problem for India. So all these traditional threats are equally important, or equally is a matter of concern for the internal security or the national security of our country.
Thank you, sir, for giving us such a thorough insight into the various nuggets of information regarding the non-traditional threats in India's coastal security and illuminating so many examples which many of us, I'm sure, did not know of. So moving on to Dr. Ravindranathan. The next section is on climate change and security risks. So in addition to human-induced threats, climate change, as we know, is emerging as a significant challenge for India's coastal security. So my question to you is, how can India integrate climate resilience into its broader coastal security strategy?
Some of the items are already mentioned in my earlier interaction, which is how climate change is making changes in the geography of the coastal regions, especially when the sea rise happens or the pattern of rainfall changes. We can see that, for example, the rainfall of the region is changing. For example, we can say 100 millimeter of rain is the normal rainfall which this southern Indian region gets, especially the western coast gets. And that is happening from June to August. That's the time it's spread out. The 100 centimeter rain is spread out through the entire period. But what happened now is, if you take the total amount of rainfall, it is same, 100 centimeter. But what happens is, it happens only within few days. The drought will be there for quite longer time, and after that, all of a sudden, rain comes and flood happens, and the heavy rainfall makes the situation very bad, and a lot of 2018 flood of Kerala. That is one example we can see. So the rain patterns are changing. Then rain patterns changes means it will be definitely affect the food security. The pattern of agriculture, the cultivation will be affected. The production of spices will be affected, especially the spices like cardamom, which is depending on the continuous rainfall without stop, but very narrow level, very sprinkling type rainfall is required for such crops, which is not no more available. On the other hand, it is heavy rainfall in short time period it is appearing. So these all are considered as the result of climate change. And earlier I said like the sea rise, the water seawater rises to a few inches, and it will definitely submerge many of the coastal regions, especially which is actively making actively participating in uh, uh, shrimp cultivation and other activities, agricultural activities. So definitely that will be affected. And the eastern region, sir said a lot of things has revealed about the porous border and other problems, and uh, the connection between the uh, what is it? The drug trafficking, which is not one item. Drug trafficking is actually connected with various other things. Sir has explained really well. But one thing I want to say is the moment the western part of Indian Ocean, Indian coastal line is more properly protected, or we are increasing the protection, then the adversaries are trying to get into India through the eastern side, where the Cox's Bazar and the Sundarbans region is a very safe haven for a lot of things. And these places are also affected by the climate change, because the sea water level is rising, and it is not just India alone cannot do it. It has to be done with other countries also. The South Asian countries has to be taken into consideration, and there should be a kind of uh, uh, effort has to be taken from the government level to bring other countries also in this picture, because alone India cannot handle, because many of the places are not belongs to us, especially the Bangladesh region. So climate change affects. I said earlier, Naukali was an example. The place is no more existing, or part of that place is not existing. So it is not one country can handle. It is there should be a effort by the combination of group of countries. What is the next one?
Yes. So the next question, my penultimate question, is to Mr. K.V. Thomas, sir, which relates to technology and coastal security.
Yeah, one thing I want to make here is the porous border of the Bangladesh region, which is not possible to protect by human intervention. Especially, none of the country, India or Bangladesh, doesn't have the capability to make surveillance of the entire region. And but now technology is coming into picture. Technology is providing you an access, which can drone technology and other the satellite technology, all providing proper, I mean, an advantage in this area. Yeah.
Yes. So my question, which pertains to technology and coastal security, is to Mr. K.V. Thomas, sir. So, how can the increase in artificial intelligence, digital surveillance, satellite-based monitoring, and UDAs be leveraged to strengthen India's coastal security framework?
Thank you, ma'am. After the 2611, a lot of initiatives have been made from the government side to improve the technological or the electronical technology devices system or network to improve the overall national security, particularly the coastal security. So, one of the major decisions taken was, as I already indicated, is this National Grid, then another organization, NDRO, National Technical Research Organization, was founded at apex level for thorough research and development of new technology and devices, with a particular reference to internal security threats and challenges. Coming to the point of coastal security, in the aftermath of 26/11, CSN, that is Coastal Surveillance Network, was developed. It was a combination of so many technological or electronic devices, just like sensors, radars, then AIS, automatic identification system, then meteorological sensors. Is a combination of these things to the entire network or the entire region of the coastal line for her to have an effective monitoring, reconnaissance, and surveillance. So all these devices were installed, and some initiatives were made, and directions were given to the state governments to streamline. For example, to strengthen their coastal policing network, or say, for example, the specially constituted ATS, anti-terrorism squads in the various states. They should be equipped with the technologically divided devices in order to combat the challenges. So, in the case of fishing sector also, for example, if we analyze the 1993, or say, for example, 26/11, there were hundreds or thousands of fishing boats are operating. Porbandar port, or for example, the Gujarat coast, you say, for example, Wakka, Jakhao, or Mundra, so many ports and so many fishing boats are operating. Even in Kerala, or Coromandel coast, or Malabar coast, all fishing harbors are there. So a decision was taken, all these fishing boats should be automatically registered, and devices should be fitted. Identification devices should be fitted, electronically identification devices should be fitted for their identification as well as recognition. Then long range identification and tracking devices with the help of electronic devices were also developed and installed all the vulnerable areas. Apart from that one, therefore, from coastal security angle, there is an integrated coastal surveillance system was developed with the help of DRDO and Bharat Electronics Limited. The main purpose of this integrated coastal surveillance system was to have a close and immediate monitoring of the movement of vessels and give alert messages to Navy, Coast Guard, and other agencies in respect of the suspicious vessel. It is also working very well in the western coast, particularly in respect of the movement of the suspicious vessels originating from Gujarat coast or from Pakistan side. It was successfully worked, and the Coast Guard has also, the Navy, along with ATS and other these agencies, could make some interception of some suspicious vessels dictated by this mechanism. But at the same time, there are challenges for this technological and electronical or digital devices, mainly in the form of cyber security, then data breach, then jamming of sensors. These are also our counter agencies or our hostile elements are also working on plans, and they also develop their technology to neutralize our own technological devices in order to perpetrate their illegal activities or clandestine deals. So, in this regard comes the relevance of artificial intelligence. What is the significance of artificial intelligence, whether in the case of coastal security or any field, is that it minimizes the human error, at the same time to improve the efficiency and competence of the system to meet the new challenges. So this aspect is taken into consideration in developing in the artificial intelligence or AI equipped devices or technologies in the national security or coastal security front. So an ambitious project has been launched by Government of India to procure 6 AI occupied vessels at a cost of about 1,600 crores. And this process is going on. Once this is succeeded, 6 AI-equipped vessels will be procured and developed. Definitely, it will be an advantage to meet our requirements. So, What are the other uses or the utilities of the AI developed devices is that one is that it is very effective for monitoring and identification of the suspicious vessels or objects that is even in the underwater. Some dramatic or revolutionary development in this regard has already taken place in Western countries such as US and Australia. For example, autonomous unmanned underwater vehicles that is developed by US recently, they or a couple of years back, they can undertake effective survey of underwater, locate the, for example, submarines or suspicious or infrastructure developed in the region, and even they can develop underwater drones with the necessary military caliber to neutralize the threats from underwater. Similarly, Australia has developed another thesis in aquabotics type, just like robotics, aquabotics devices, which is also of much potential to detect suspicious vessels or objects over the surface of the sea surface or even at the underwater. Similarly, such devices developed with the help of AI is potential have a extended long-term surveillance or reconnaissance in the suspicious area. So all these technologies have considerably improved our potential or efficiency to have an effective coastal network security architecture or network in this region. So along with these technology-oriented developments, we have to take into consideration some certain important things. In the light of the 1993, 26/11 and the oft-repeated terror attacks in the various parts of the country, not only in the coastal region. For example, as RD Pradhan Committee has highlighted this aspect in a different way, the point is that suppose these two major attacks had happened in the Western Front, why should not it happen in the Bay of Bengal? And each coastline, for example, there are 9 states having the coastline. And the coastline of these 9 states have entirely different demographic and topographic features. Because I have personally seen almost all these coastline of the Bay of Bengal, or for example, Gujarat coast, Coromandel coast, or Kerala coast. The topography is entirely different, demographic feature is entirely different, developmental issues are entirely different. Despite the Sagarmala and so many other projects, the socio-economic development in these entire states, the 9 states having the coastal is having entirely different topographic as well as demographic feature. So what is needed is that we have to reorient and rethink to develop a comprehensive coastal security architecture or framework focusing on the vulnerabilities of the particular region. For example, the Gujarat coast is vulnerability is not there in the Kerala coast. For example, the 561 kilometers of the Kerala coast, the challenges are entirely different. The Gujarat coast is entirely different. The Bay of Bengal or the Coromandel coast, it is entirely different. Or the Tamil Nadu's Malabar coast is entirely different. So considering these aspects, the vulnerability studies should be conducted. Detailed vulnerability studies should be conducted, and how we could work out a foolproof coastal security architecture for each region. For example, in this connection, what I want to recall or recollect is the famous words of the Chinese strategist, that is ancient year strategist is Sun Tzu. Sun Tzu is very rightly commended is that if you know yourself and your enemy, you should not fear about the success in the battles. If you know yourself and if you do not know the enemy, then for every success you attained, you have to face a defeat. And if you neither you know yourself nor your enemy, you will always succumb to the battles. That is the famous word of the Sun, which appears to be sorry relevant when we finalizing a foolproof coastal security architecture for the nation. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for providing us with that very valuable quote. And that actually brings me to the last question to Dr. Ravindranathan. Then, as Sir mentioned that, as we discussed earlier also about the regional variations in India, so given these realities, do you think that India should continue with a unified coastal security command, or should they be tailored to the distinct realities, say the Coromandel Coast and the Malabar Coast, the Eastern, the Western, the Arabian Sea, the Bay of Bengal? So, do you think that India should tweak its coastal security strategy command to make it more unified or otherwise? Thank you.
We cannot impose anything as a unified effort. The moment we try to impose something, or so the central government, union government is trying to impose, that will create a lot of trouble. But instead of that, a concerted effort by states and center has to be there. Well, first of all, the state has to be convinced that these efforts are not taking any power from them, and it is essential that their participation is very relevant, and they have to take care of many of those things. Uh, that is one thing which is essential, and the definitions is very important. How much, how far you can control all those like territorial water. That is the Coast Guard's specialty, their region. And security, coastal security is the actions are done by Coast Guard. But beyond that, if it is in the economic zone, especially the case of poaching of fisheries, the navigation is free in those places. You cannot stop any vehicle going. I mean, vessels going in that area. But if they are they are exploiting, that could be stopped by the agencies who are supposed to do. But there you need the support of Indian Navy, because beyond 44 not 24 nautical miles, that is the territorial water and the contingency zone. After that, the Coast Guard is not much relevant, or they have to make a concerted effort with the Navy, and states also has to be, because most of the things could be traced by the problems which is emanating from the land to the sea or sea to the land, which could be easily understood by the surveillance, especially intelligence gathering. And the intelligence gathering will happen only in the land. And for that, you need the support of the state governments, especially the coastal police and other police forces, because then only they can collect proper intelligence and articulate what the important measures has to be taken. So it's a concerted effort. It is not a decision by top order and imposing on the others. That is very important for controlling the coastal security.
Thank you,
Yeah.
sir. Yes, certainly there has to be more synergy between the central and the state governments, and especially coastal states, which bear the brunt of most of these fatalities in terms of coastal security breaches and environmental changes. So that brings me to the end of this very, very illuminating discussion on India's coastal security. And I think now we will take audience questions. Is that right, Alina?
Yes, yes, there. Can you see them in the chat box?
Just a second. Okay. Um, okay, we have either one of you can take this question. The first question is, what are the implications of China's increasing presence in the Indian Ocean region for India's coastal security? By Santara Justine.
Can I take the question?
Sure. Please go ahead, sir.
Or
Go ahead, sir.
so really, China's emergence in the Indian Ocean region, especially their aggressive hegemonistic designs in the East and South China Sea, is a very serious challenge from the coastal security angle of India or the internal security angle. Because China has already succeeded to establish a number of potential bases through their economic package to the countries in the region. So, in one way, it is described as a string of pearls. They have succeeded a string of pearls, having their bases in many of the neighboring countries of India. There is a potential threat. At the same time, in order to counter the threat, Government of India has also adopted a number of mechanisms, and it is described is that it's a necklace of diamond. One day, once the string of pearl is developed by China, India has developed a strategy of necklace of diamond. That is what is establishing very cordial diplomatic, economic, and other relations with the countries of the region, particularly of the Gulf region. So, India's policies such as neighborhood first, act east or look east or act east, these are all some of the very important decisions taken at governmental level to neutralize or contain the threat of China in this Indian Ocean region. This to a great extent has succeeded, but at the same time, there are also difficulties or impediments. The impediments are mainly in the form of internal developments. For example, the change of government in Bangladesh, which is not much cordial to the government of India or India, or Mali. The same is the situation with the situation in Maldives, or the internal conflicts or some sort of unrest that is happening in Myanmar, and occasional shift in the policy or the approach of the Nepal government, and the deep economic crisis in Sri Lanka. These are also the issues. But at the same time, India is also extending their cooperation or their relations with other countries. For example, significantly, the last week, two major developments have taken place. And one is that the ICA, that is means Africa India Key Marine Initiative, which was started and it will be formally launched in the month of April. In this particular program is that the India is establishing very good ICA in the Sanskrit means unity with the 9 countries of the Africa, and have for constant surveillance of the the exclusive economic zone, and also the ocean waters for strengthening relations with these African countries. Equally important is another one is that IOS Sagar, Indian Ocean Ship Sagar. Indian Ocean Ship Sagar will be now deployed in the southwest of Indian Ocean, having been established with the 9 countries of Africa, and have joint patrolling and other activities stretching in the Indian Ocean region. These are some of the very important measures taken by Government of India to neutralize the efforts of the China to emerge as a real threat to India's security through their hegemonic or aggressive policies in the South China or East China Sea. These things are working very greatly, and that is why the regional cooperation or security build up, as earlier indicated by Sagar, security and growth for all, and recently again after 10, that was formulated in 2015 March, and now the Sagar has developed and expanded into a new concept this March 2025 by during the speech of Prime Minister in Mauritius is Mahasagar. That Mahasagar means mutual holistic advancement for security and growth for across the region that is touching upon almost all the major countries of the global south. So India as such is not afraid to deal with the mechanizations or the moves of the China in the Indian Ocean region.
Thank you, sir. The second question is, how effective is the coastal surveillance network in monitoring maritime threats? Again, Dr. Ravindranathan, would you like to take this?
Um, it is more effective now because the technology has grown into a different proposition. Especially the monitoring systems are grown up to very advanced mode. Especially the radar system, sensors, and other things. Especially use of drones. All these things are helping to make a better position in the surveillance part. And also there are the maritime security efforts by the government of India, also giving some kind of additional support to the coastal security program, especially the maritime domain awareness program, which is implemented, and the surveillance system, which is prepared by the MDA, which includes the number of vessels in the monitoring the number of vessels in the Indian Ocean region, especially the fusion center, international fusion center, which is monitoring the movement of the vessels in the both in Indian Ocean region, especially Bay of Bengal and other Arabian Sea, and yeah, the technology has made big advantages for the surveillance part, and also the satellite technology, which also help to monitor the movements. And other one is that the fixing of transponders in the boats, fishing boats, because fishing boats are we cannot identify who from where and how it is appearing, and with the help of transponders, with fixing the transponders, definitely they could be in case they are in a trouble, they could be the state can help them, and also it will be monitored. So there are different mechanisms are appearing to support the coastal security through the technology.
Thank you. I think those are all the questions we have from the YouTube chat box. And so thank you all for joining us today. And we've had a very fruitful discussion. So, I mean, to just tie everything up, we started with how to give a basis to the evolution of India's coastal security. And Mr. K.V. Thomas gave us very many examples, historical examples, starting from the 16th century to present day, to explain this very evolution. After which we then moved on to non-traditional coastal security threats, where the what do you call the increase of such non-traditional security threats was highlighted by both the speakers. And then we moved on to climate change and coastal security, and to see how the rising sea waters, the increasing intervals of cyclones, and such environment upheavals should now find a place in India's coastal security strategy. And then we also moved on to how the east and the west coast of India should have more synergy. The state governments of these coastal states should have more synergy with the national government to come with more fruitful and tailored approaches to combat coastal security issues.
Thank you, Adya. I thank our panelists for taking out their valuable time and sharing their expert viewpoints with us. CPPR also extends our gratitude to Asia Foundation for supporting us in this project, for building a network in coastal think tanks in India. And thank you so much, Athiya, for joining us as a moderator. I also thank the CPPR team for organizing the webinar. And last but not least, I thank the audience for participating in our discussion today. Keep following our social media for more updates on our project. With this, I conclude our webinar. Thank you and wishing you all a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a good, nice day.